Good morning, sir.
Morning. So in yesterday's class, we were discussing about acetylcholine, how it is formed and what it is. Today we'll start off with the discussion of cholinergic receptors, the receptors that will respond to acetylcholine. Okay, those are called cholinergic receptors. These can be broadly classified into two categories. All right, there are two classes of cholinergic receptors, and you'll find them in different locations, and they have their own specific functions. First one will be muscarinic. These are also called M receptors. You will have five types of muscarinic receptors, M1 to M5. So M1, M2, M3, M4, and M5, and nicotinic receptors. Nicotinic receptors are of two types, NN and NM. Okay. Now, these are named appropriately because whenever you give muscarine is a drug and nicotine is a drug, not a synthetic drug but naturally found drug. When you give muscarine, these receptors will light up or they will react, and whenever someone consumes nicotine, whichever way they are consuming it, these receptors will light up. That is why their name is nicotinic or muscarinic receptor. Okay, you will get similar action from those natural products like acetylcholine. All right, whenever acetylcholine binds to these receptors, the kind of response that you get, it will be similar to what you get from those natural drugs as well. Now, coming to the locations of those receptors, see, these are the locations of nicotinic and muscarinic receptors. Nicotinic receptors NM is named NM because it is present in neuromuscular junction. So wherever you have a cholinergic neuron attaching directly to a muscle, causing muscle contraction. So what acetylcholine does is, whenever it is going, I will explain the functions of acetylcholine as well, actions of acetylcholine. But essentially, neuromuscular junction refers to the junction between the neuron and the muscle fibers. ठीक है, जो मोटा एंड प्लेट रहती वहां पर अटैच होता है ये. Then N2 or NN type of receptors are present in the ganglia. ठीक है, autonomic ganglia में present रहते हैं. A few of them are present in gastric glands like adrenal medulla. You will find a few in the CNS as well. So few receptors in the CNS. Then coming to muscarinic receptors, now the main type of muscarinic receptors will be M1 to M3. M4, M5 are not, their functions are not completely understood or not completely explored. We only know their locations. उन लोगों के functions are still yet to be completely understood. They are working on it, but they're not as well understood as M1 to M3. So M1 receptor, M1, M2, and M3. M1 comes in autonomic ganglia. You have it in what do you call this thing? Gastric glands, hippocampus, striatus, cortex, all of that. M2 can be found in heart. So whenever you have cholinergic stimulus to the heart, wherever heart is contracting, that stimulus is coming from M2 receptor. As such, acetylcholine is binding to M2 receptor, and it is causing the heart to beat. So most important, this thing, M2 receptor ka location will be heart. All right. M3 receptor is present in peripheral arteries. You will find M3 receptors in smooth muscles as well. M1 का सबसे important M1 का सबसे important location is gastric glands. ठीक है, secretions of your gastric glands जो अपन vagus nerve के बारे में पढ़े थे when we were discussing about PUD and all. If you remember, I told you peptic ulcer disease में how acid is being produced. Vagus nerve produces acetylcholine which goes and binds to the muscarinic receptor on your this thing parietal cell. That muscarinic receptor was M1. Okay, M1 is present in your GIT, M2 will be present in your heart, and M3, I'm telling main locations. Okay, M3 is present in your CNS. You'll also find it in smooth muscles and glands as well. Okay, M4, M5 mostly CNS. Okay, different parts of CNS, but it will be present in CNS. Now, coming to the actions of acetylcholine, what it does essentially, whenever it is binding to these receptors, you will have a lot of functions of acetylcholine. I will try to see depending on which receptor is being stimulated. For example, if it is muscarinic receptor that is stimulated, you will get a response from wherever those locations are: blood vessel, heart, smooth muscle, secretory gland, eye, so on. एंड निकोटिनिक रिसेप्टर रहा तो जनरली एनएमजे या ऑटोनॉमिक गैंग्लिया या सीएनएस वहां से फंक्शंस आते. But in general, if we try to summarize the most important functions of acetylcholine, most important actions of acetylcholine, where it is working, it can be brought down into 6 categories. First of all, these are actions of CNS. Okay, actions of, sorry, acetylcholine, ACH. All right. The first action we'll talk about is on CVS. Okay, CVS pay. Whenever there is stimulus of acetylcholine, it will decrease heart rate, it will decrease BP, parasympathetic stimulation essentially, and it will cause vasodilation. Okay. Generally, acetylcholine or any drug that you are giving as acetylcholine as well, similar to acetylcholine, they are called cholinomimetics or parasympathomimetics because they will mimic your parasympathetic system. So all the functions that you see of acetylcholine will be similar to the functions of parasympathetic nervous system. Last year when you discussed, when you studied about parasympathetic nervous system in anatomy and physiology, at that time it was mainly referring to the functions of acetylcholine. There will be functions of other neurotransmitters as well, but mostly it refers to acetylcholine and its function. That is why the drugs that you give of acetylcholine, they are either called cholinomimetic because they'll mimic acetylcholine, or they are called parasympathomimetic, they'll mimic parasympathetic system. Now, as I was telling, on CVS, it will decrease heart rate and BB and it will cause vasodilation. On your non-vascular smooth muscles, on non-vascular smooth muscle, this will cause contraction of those muscle. Specifically, it will cause increase in gut peristalsis, increased gut peristalsis. So it is helping in digestion. Whenever you have a stimulus from a cholinergic system or parasympathetic system, I told you yesterday, parasympathetic system is responsible for rest and digest, and sympathetic nervous system is responsible for fight and flight, right? So whenever you have parasympathetic response to your gut or to your GIT, peristalsis will increase, secretions will increase, all that will happen, because of which, digestion is facilitated. Essentially, it will also promote urinary voiding, promotes urinary voiding, and causes bronchospasm. Bronchospasm. All right. Then on glands, it will cause secretion of glands. So whether it be exocrine glands, endocrine glands, wherever you have the stimulus from acetylcholine, increases secretion from glands wherever it is working. Okay. Uh, on eye, it will cause meiosis. What is meiosis? आई एम श्योर लास्ट ईयर आप लोग मायोसिस एंड मेड्रियासिस के बारे में पढ़े होंगे. एनी गेसेस? If it is related to eye, what will it be? अच्छा, it relates to the pupil. चलो, उससे बड़ा तो गेस नहीं दे सकते.
Construction of pupils.
Constriction of pupils is called meiosis. Mydriasis is the opposite. So it also increases intraocular pressure. ठीक है. Then upon NMJ, neuromuscular junction, where the junction between the neuron and the muscle, motor end plate, it will cause contraction of the muscle. And ganglia. If you remember, when we were discussing about antihelminthics and all, I told you that it can cause spastic paralysis, right? Whenever you have increased amount of acetylcholine in the muscle, it can cause spastic paralysis because there will be continuous contraction. Agar continuously contract ho raha, for muscle movement, let us suppose you want to get up and walk, few muscles will have to contract, few muscles will have to relax at the same time. ठीक है. That does not happen when there is excessive amount of stimulation from your acetylcholine. Your muscle will only be in a contracted state, because of which you'll not be able to move, and it will cause paralysis. So if it is occurring in humans, that is also called spastic paralysis. There in anti-helminthics, we are specifically targeting the cholinergic receptors of the helminth. Okay? And on ganglia, it will cause stimulation. गैंग्लिया में मेनली निकोटिनिक रिसेप्टर्स ही रहते हैं. Okay, now there are other functions of this thing acetylcholine as well. I'm not going into a lot of detail. This is the summary of all the functions of or actions of acetylcholine. Okay, the important actions of acetylcholine that you need to remember. Now, when we discuss about drugs that are given as cholinergics, so cholinergics or cholinomimetics or parasympathomimetics are drugs given in patients who have less amount of acetylcholine, or in patients whose acetylcholine is being destroyed. Let us suppose there are patients जिनके अंदर acetylcholine destroy हो जा रहा, या फिर there are patients in whom acetylcholine is simply not being produced. In those people, there can be a lot of problems. Think about it. If acetylcholine is not present, yeah, Lovely, do you have a doubt? Yeah, microphone is on. Okay, right. So as I was telling, as I told you, acetylcholine is very important for digestion, for several functions. Okay, to maintain your heart rate, to maintain BP, whenever increase in BP occurs, to dial it down. Let us suppose acetylcholine function is not being presented in a person, and on the other hand, you have sympathetic stimulation, from norepinephrine, epinephrine, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. Okay. Now, in this scenario, what will happen is you will only get a sympathetic response. Your body will always be in fight or flight. Okay, that can be a problem. All right. So in that scenario, the patient will not be able to survive for a long period of time without acetylcholine. In such scenarios, there'll be a few diseases and all of that. We'll discuss where cholinergic drugs are used. But in those scenarios, you need to supplement acetylcholine to the patient. You need to give the patient acetylcholine. Now, there are several ways where you can, provide a cholinergic response to a patient. We'll discuss that. But essentially, when we talk about cholinergic drugs, there are three classes: cholinomimetics, yeah, cholinergics, yeah, parasympathomimetics, whatever you call it. Okay, in your exam, you can get it in any name. So write about cholinergic drugs, yeah, briefly explain cholinomimetic drugs, or write a short note on parasympathomimetic drugs. All of them refer to these drugs. First of all will be esters of choline. So I told you acetylcholine is one ester of choline, right? There are other esters of choline as well. For example, other than acetylcholine, you have methacholine, you have bethanacol, there is carbachol as well. These are all different esters of choline. Then second class will be cholinomimetic alkaloids. Natural alkaloids that will be similar in function as acetylcholine. दो drugs आते हैं, pilocarpine and muscarine. Then finally, third class, anticholinesterases. Now, these are again classified into two types. You have reversible and irreversible. Okay. We'll discuss about that when we come to it, because that itself is a big class. Now, first of all, coming to esters of choline, see, these are effective orally, but the problem with esters of choline is that their side effects will be quite a lot. Only in very specific scenarios, only in very special scenarios, you will use esters of choline. Okay. Specifically, uh, carbachol and bethanacol. Uh, Carbachol and bethanacol. ये दो ज्यादा यूज करते हैं, ठीक है, बिकॉज दे आर रेसिस्टेंट टू cholinesterase एज वेल. What are cholinesterases? Yesterday we discussed, right? I hope you remember what are cholinesterases. What are cholinesterases?
which break down acetylcholine into choline and
Breakdown.
Good.
acetic acid.
Thank you. Thankfully you remember, or at least someone remembers. अगर नहीं याद रहता तो वो पूरी कहानी फिर सब समझाना पड़ता था. Well, as cholinesterases are enzymes that will be present in your synapse, and they will essentially break down acetylcholine whenever its function is done into acetic acid and choline, so that choline can be taken up by the presynaptic neuron again. Anyway, these two drugs are resistant to cholinesterases, so they will stay in your body for a longer period of time. Because of that, there's a problem as well. Even though they are not getting destroyed by cholinesterases and they are functioning for a longer period of time, the problem is that they are functioning for a longer period of time, meaning you are getting uh, a lot of function from that drug, meaning excessive stimulation of this thing, cholinergic receptors from that drug. It's a double-edged sword. I'll repeat once again. These drugs are resistant to cholinesterases, meaning they will not break down under cholinesterase function. Okay, and they have a long duration of action. They will work for a long period of time. The problem is also that they are working for a long period of time. Okay, specifically, their muscarinic actions are very prominent. And what will happen is, because they are working for such a long period of time and they are not being broken down, you will have severe side effects as well. Okay, so gastric acid, your GI smooth muscles will have GI smooth muscles, and urinary bladder will show specific problems. The patient might have problem in retaining urine, or essentially they will have frequency of micturition will severely increase, and they'll not even be able to wait till their urine is coming out. They might avoid the urine before they even have the chance. Sometimes it happens, uh, or it might cause diarrhea. So those are some problems that can occur: diarrhea, flushing, salivation, sweating, bradycardia, hypotension, syncope, bronchospasm. वो पूरे इन लोगों के side effects रहते हैं. Now, but that is why these are not used normally. Methacholine तो बहुत ही rarely use करते हैं. Carbachol is generally used in glaucoma. ठीक है. We'll discuss about glaucoma some other time. Have you ever encountered this disease, glaucoma? इससे पहले कभी ना कभी पढ़ा है क्या, कहीं ना कोई और सब्जेक्ट में?
No, sir.
Okay, ठीक है. Well, you have this in chapter 10. We'll discuss that then. It's fairly big, so ये class में तो नहीं. Anyway, carbachol is generally used in glaucoma, specifically in glaucoma. Bethanocol can be used when there is hypotonia of the bladder, hypotonia of the urinary bladder, or hypotonia of GI muscles. When the tone of those bladder muscles and the GI muscles are not working properly, the muscles will have muscle tone, right? If magar muscle tone nahi raha, to it will not be able to contract properly, and it will not be able to relax properly. So you can give methanocol in that scenario. Urinary retention के लिए दे सकते हैं आप. You can uh, sorry, urinary retention problem है तो दे सकते हैं आप. You can also give it in xerostomia. What is xerostomia? You ever come across this condition? Acha, find out and tell me what is xerostomia. ठीक है? If you already know, then please answer, or else कल मालूम करके बोलो मेरे को. What is xerostomia? Bethanocol is also used in xerostomia, or you can, in certain cases, you can use it in post-operative patients. So थोड़े patients में dry mouth. Good. So थोड़े पोस्ट ऑपरेटिव पेशेंट्स में क्या होता, they might have a paralytic ileus. Their ileum might become paralytic, because of which they might have indigestion or specifically constipation. तो वो कंडीशन में आप पैरालिटिक इलियस को ट्रीट करने के लिए you can give these esters of choline. ठीक है. As I told you, adverse effects are quite severe and quite a lot. Your patient will have diarrhea, flushing, salivation, sweating, bradycardia, hypotension, syncope, and bronchospasms. Now, coming to the next class, which are cholinomimetic alkaloids. Now, these drugs are alkaloids. These are naturally found substances that will act like your acetylcholine. ठीक है? Specifically, अगर अपन दो drugs है, pilocarpine है and we have this thing, muscarine. Okay, cevimeline use करते थे पहले, not as much nowadays. Only for specific conditions use करते. Cevimeline is generally used in Sjogren's and radiation-induced xerostomia. Now, anyway, coming to pilocarpine, first of all. ठीक है, it comes from leaves of a plant called Pilocarpus microphyllus. ठीक है, it will stimulate your cholinergic receptors, specifically the prominent action is seen on muscarinic receptors. इसका nicotinic receptors पे उतना ज़्यादा function नहीं दिखता, but muscarinic receptors पे बहुत ज़्यादा रहता action. Problem is it will cause hypotension, even though it is causing uh, the effects of acetylcholine. It can cause hypotension. You can use it in glaucoma. You can use it to decrease intraocular pressure. You can use it to for meiosis as well. Okay, to induce meiosis. If the patient is having some problems like glaucoma, uske andar use kar sakte hain. Other problems is the patient will start sweating a lot and they will have sialogog, increased amount of salivary secretion. Usko sialogog bolte hain. When they are salivating a lot, because salivary secretions are increasing way too much, वो conditions में दे सकते हैं. If you use it as a eye drop, अगर meiosis induce करना है तो it might cause some burning sensation and spasm of accommodation might occur. In certain patients brow ache will occur. ठीक है, their brows will ache literally. Sometimes corneal edema का chance रहता, corneal edema can occur. Okay, long-term usage is not recommended. Long-term usage can be very harmful because long-term usage will cause retinal detachment. One second. ठीक है, never use pilocarpine for a long period of time. Generally अगर दे रहे भी तो glaucoma में या ऐसा 7 days or so it is given and that is it. ठीक है. Then finally we have anticholinesterases. So you already know what is cholinesterase. Cholinesterase is an enzyme that is breaking down acetylcholine. Now we just looked at two supplements of acetylcholine, whether it be esters of choline or whether it be cholinomimetic alkaloids. Both of them are similar to acetylcholine. They will act as substitutes for acetylcholine. Here, in this mechanism, what you are doing, you are indirectly increasing acetylcholine level. Okay. Now what is happening? Think of it this way. Let us suppose this is your neuron and ये acetylcholine है. These are the vesicles containing acetylcholine, and let us suppose this is the receptor that has a receptor that conforms to acetylcholine. Now, because of stimulus from ascent potential, acetylcholine, the vesicle is attaching to the surface, exocytosis is occurring, and a few acetylcholine molecules are coming into picture in the synapse. These acetylcholine molecules will attach to the receptor, give a stimulus, and that's it. Once it has given a stimulus, this fellow will come out and it will be acted upon by cholinesterase, right? And whenever it is acted upon by cholinesterase, you get two compounds. You are essentially breaking down acetylcholine into choline and acetic acid. I'm just writing it as acetic acid, AA for now. यहाँ पर by giving anticholinesterases, you are essentially inhibiting this enzyme. If you inhibit anticholinesterase enzyme, what will happen? This acetylcholine, which is attached to that receptor, even though it will come out, it is still staying in that synapse. So there is a chance that it can go back and stimulate the receptor again. I'll repeat once again, listen carefully. Acetylcholine whenever it is getting a stimulus, let's suppose there is an action potential coming and stimulating these vesicles. Because of that, calcium influx occurs and essentially exocytosis of acetylcholine occurs. यहाँ पर ये vesicle में जो neurotransmitter stored रहता, that will be thrown into the synapse. In the synapse, when you have these acetylcholine molecules, they will go and attach to specific receptor on the dendrite of the next neuron, cholinergic neuron, या फिर ganglia भी रहने दो, whatever it is. ठीक है, the acetylcholine receptor. One second. Right. Once it has attached to the receptor, it will induce a response. A threshold potential is generated, which is this. ठीक है, and it continues. So next neuron में information transfer हो गई. ठीक है. Once it has done its function, what acetylcholine will do is it will essentially get out of this area. This is coming out. ठीक है, and it is being subjected to cholinesterase. Whenever it is being subjected to cholinesterase, acetylcholine will break down into choline and acetic acid. Now, if you know that the patient has less amount of acetylcholine, in the sense it's either their production is low or it is being damaged because of genetic problems or whatever the case be, let us suppose unke synapse mein acetylcholine molecules are few. Normally, let us suppose in a healthy person, at one point of time in their synapse, after an action potential is coming, let us suppose there are about 200 molecules of acetylcholine. Example. Okay? These 200 molecules are going and attaching to various receptors. I'm only drawing one receptor. Okay, there are several receptors on the ganglia or on dendrites. Okay? बहुत सारे receptors रहते हैं. Now, whenever those receptors are getting attached with acetylcholine, you will get the response, and those 200 molecules of acetylcholine are getting, broken down into choline and all. Let us suppose we have a patient who has, instead of 200, which is normal, they have only 100 molecules, or they have only 80 molecules. Okay? This will certainly not be enough. Okay? You might not be able to create enough threshold potential to change it into action potential. If you have idea about threshold potentials, you'll know that these are smaller potentials which, when accumulated near your axon hillock, axon hillock, it will turn into action potential, meaning you need a baseline amount of threshold potential. It needs to reach that threshold. अगर threshold को reach नहीं कर रहा तो it will not change into action potential. If you have very few these thing, what do you call, neurotransmitters, you will not be able to relay the complete information. ठीक है, ये न्यूरॉन 1 से न्यूरॉन 2 या गैंग्लियन को information completely relay नहीं होती. So what you can do is, instead of increasing the amount of acetylcholine, we already discussed, directly or indirectly increasing acetylcholine, sorry, directly increasing acetylcholine using alkaloids or using esters of choline can have their own problems. To avoid those problems, what I will do is, I will use those 80 acetylcholine molecules. I'll just make sure that they are not being destroyed. Okay? When I give the patient an anticholinesterase drug, whether it be reversible or irreversible, what will happen is it will bind to that receptor, this enzyme, and it will render this enzyme useless. Okay? For the duration of the drug where it acts, those enzymes will be useless. Okay? You have reversible and irreversible as well. We'll discuss about that. But essentially, anticholinesterase is not working. Meaning, what happens? These 80 molecules of acetylcholine are staying in your synapse. They are not being broken down. And at one point or the other, what will happen is these 80 molecules will reattach to the enzymes, reattach to the receptors, and they will give you double response. So initially, when they came out of neuron 1, because of stimulus, they gave one response. Then again, because there is no action of anticholinesterase, these are again attaching to the receptors and giving you response 2. तो आपके ये जो 80 या 100 acetylcholine molecules है, they are working similar to 160 to 200 molecules, giving you normal function. ये समझ में आया concept? Or if you want me to repeat, please feel free to ask, because this can be a little tricky. Okay, so we'll start over once. Let us suppose this is neuron 1. Let me just put it like this. Let us suppose this is neuron 1. Okay? And this is neuron 2. Okay? Neuron 2 or ganglia, whatever you take it. ठीक है, जिसके ऊपर निकोटिनिक या मस्कार्निक receptors है. Let us suppose these are the receptors. Whenever action potential is coming into this neuron 1, neuron 2, ठीक है, it is stimulating the vesicle, because of which acetylcholine is coming into picture. And once it is giving a single response, it will give a single response. All of these will give a single response, one response and one response. These are coming out of the receptor, being subjected to cholinesterase and being degraded into choline and acetic acid, right? Ab Normally, let us suppose a healthy individual should have somewhere around 200 molecules of acetylcholine in their synapse for you to get enough number of threshold potentials from the single response itself. Okay, these single responses, which are happening for the first time on a receptor, they will slowly start generating threshold potentials. When you have enough amount of threshold potential accumulated, only then it will come accumulate near axon hillock, and only then your action potential can be generated. Without enough amount of threshold potential, if you're not reaching that threshold, then you cannot trigger an action potential. These 200 molecules, by giving a single response on several receptors, let us suppose there are 20 receptors, and each of these 200 molecules are stimulating those receptor 10 times. So 20 receptors into 10 stimuli will give you 200 stimuli, 200 threshold potentials, which is causing one action potential to be produced. Now, let us suppose there is a person who has less amount of acetylcholine in their synapse. Instead of 200, let us suppose we have only 100 acetylcholine molecules. Okay, let's suppose that person only has 100. What you can do in these patients is, now we know that cholinesterase will break down acetylcholine after that single response. After you get this single response, acetylcholine is being broken down. What I am doing is I am stopping this cholinesterase enzyme. I am breaking that cholinesterase enzyme. I'm inhibiting it, because of which ACH remains alive. It will remain in your synapse. And what will happen is this ACH, because it is staying in your synapse for long enough. Now synapse is a very small space. Okay? There is a very good chance that this acetylcholine molecule, instead of giving just one response, it will go and bind to those receptors again, and it can give a second response. Sometimes it might give a third response as well. इसका मतलब क्या है? Those 100 molecules of acetylcholine are creating 200 threshold potentials by repeated action. ठीक है? In these patients, I know acetylcholine level is low. I am just making sure that I'm getting repeated response from the same amount of acetylcholine molecules that I have. I know I have less, but I'm making sure they are working more. Okay? So, for example, in an office, 10 individuals are present who will type 10 papers per day. Let us suppose. So, you are getting 100 papers per day. Let us suppose one day only 5 people come. Now, what I am doing is, instead of decreasing the output, I am asking all the 5 to print or to type 20 pages. My output remains the same. Even if they are not typing 20, let us suppose they type 16. I get 80 pages. That is still better than getting only 50. So this is the same concept here. I am getting more out of those 100 molecules of acetylcholine than those 200 molecules. Okay, or similar to those 200 molecules. That is the concept of using anticholinesterases. I hope this cleared up the doubt. If anyone else didn't understand, or if you want me to repeat, please feel free to ask. Yeah, it can cause complications as well. Good point. It can cause complications. We'll get to that. Now, because there is repeated stimulus, as I told you, second stimulus aa sakta, sometimes you can get third stimulus as well. That can lead to overstimulus as well sometimes, but it is rare. Mostly patients who have this thing, what do you call, uh, decrease in acetylcholine levels, they won't even have 100. They will have very few amounts of very little amount of acetylcholine molecule, and depending on that, you'll have to change the dosage of the drug, or you'll have to use a different type of anticholinesterase. Okay, you'll have 3 different types of anticholinesterase. You have reversible, irreversible. Irreversible maybe 2 types रहते हैं, organophosphates or carbamates. Now, depending on what the condition of that patient is, you'll use different types of drugs, so that you get a controlled number of stimuli, not over stimulus. Because again, you remember, if you get over stimulus from acetylcholine, that is also not good. uh, okay, I hope that answers your doubt.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Chalo, we'll stop it here. Tomorrow we'll get into what are reversible and what are irreversible types of anticholinesterases.